Hey, gang, welcome to the show tonight. This is Scotty Roberts. You are listening to the Intrepid radio program right here on the Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. Go on over and look at all the goodness that is Odyssey Radio. Now, we are not broadcasting on Odyssey tonight, mostly because of the temporary digs we're in until we get things all set up and get this studio up and running the way it's supposed to be, get some more software and things like that. You all know that. Those of you who might be new to the show, I'm looking at Gerald. Good to have you here tonight. And you're new to the show. This is not our normal studio. I am down in Louisiana. Come south, they said. It's warm down here. I'm from up in Minnesota, Wisconsin area. And, where it was last week, 27 below zero actual air temperature, and then made even a little colder with the wind chill. And I hear people from the south all the time saying, "How do you live up there?" And so I came south. I'm down here working on a project for a few months, and left my family and my wife and kids up there. Boy, that sounded bad. My family and my wife and kids. My family, consisting of my wife and children, left them back home. They're fending on their own up there without dad and husband in the house. And I came south. And coming south, did I bring a winter coat? No. Did I bring gloves? No. Did I bring, thermal underwear? No. And so once I got down here, what's the first thing that happened? Well, we had a day or two where it was 70, 75 degrees, and I thought, oh, this is like heaven. And then what happened a couple of days later? Well, it bottomed out. I think we hit 12 below zero here on Sunday night. And then we had the ice storm on Monday. And then another cold day on Tuesday. And then it rained hard all day today and never got above 33 degrees. It was 1 degree above freezing. So what am I saying by all this? It's as cold as shit down here. It's not like up north. Up north, you expect it. Minnesota, we expect a cold winter. I grew up there. I lived all of my life there, save for a few years here and there. And we had cold, frigid winters. Middle of January, you can drop below zero. But then, usually it's fairly temperate cold, quote unquote, 0 to 20. And but in the summer, it does the complete flip flop. For those of you who don't know this, the summer times it gets to 95 to 105 degrees up there, but it's a humid heat. Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes. Where do you think all that moisture goes? It sucks it into the air. It could be subtropical in Minnesota if we didn't have those Arctic winters. But all those two extremes did was make the fall and the spring absolutely gorgeous. So it's a great place to live. But I've been freezing down here all this week. And I must have already acclimated last week to 70 degrees. The good thing is it's going to go back up to 60 by Sunday. 58, I think they modified it to now, but 70 by the end of next week again. So I'm looking forward to some warm weather so I can walk around and not be freezing all the time. And of course, the older I get, the more cold I get. I'm going to be that grandpa who you're all sitting in the backyard in the swimming pool and tanning in the sun. And I'm going to be grandpa in his long socks and shawl one of these days because I don't know how you youngsters stay warm in all this heat. So there it is. And by the way, you're watching this show. For those of you who are here, you already know this. But those of you who are watching this eventually in archive, this is on my YouTube channel, the live simulcast over on youtube.com/Mr. Scotty Roberts. And the best part of this show and broadcasting here is all you guys right over here in the chat room. And well, that's where it appears on my screen. And so I'm glad to have you all here. I appreciate you taking your time to come and spend it with me. And we're going to talk about a few things tonight. I'm going to forewarn you about something. We've been spending the last week and a half talking about more psychological stuff. And we're still getting into that tonight. We're going to be talking about the Dark Triad of Psyche. And we're going to take that little test. And so, something I want you to do if you haven't done it already, because I forewarned you last night, I also put it in the announcement for today's show. I want you to go find yourself a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil or a crayon or a marker, whatever you want to write with, because we're going to take a little test. And it's just agree, disagree. And then there's the other test as agree, somewhat agree, neutral, somewhat disagree, and disagree. So we're going to take some tests, and these are personality tests that really help focus on, and these are tests that are used in psychology today. They're used in the court system, for the legal system, to establish personality types and personality traits. And we're going to look and see. You don't have to publicize your answers, but you'll be able to tell if you've got some of the traits of some of these people that fall into those dark triad. We're going to get back into that in a minute, but we're going to hit oh boy, says Steph, I didn't get a chance to study. You don't have to study for this one. This is what you know about yourself. So if I asked you, do you prefer blonde or redhead? You would say blonde. You already know that, see, but that's not the kind of questions they are, but there you go. So, Steph, by the way, good to have you. Bernard from Australia, good to have you, brother. I'll answer you, but picks of my favorite YouTube and written questions. What the fuck? Who knows who's taking your pick? Well, there you go. Totally, Bernard. Field guy, good to have you here. This is another nice thing about doing the live show. I can say hey to some of you guys. Doug Stack, good to see you. Susie Q, good to see you as well. Gerald, I said hi to you. Welcome. This is Gerald's first time checking out the show. So, Gerald, I used to do a show with Rocky Stucci. And so, if you're new listening to him, you don't know that. He and I used to do a show together, and I think we were pretty good together. So, field guy said hi to. I don't need to say hi to you again. Matt Finn, Master Finn, my first mate. Yeah, to be fair, it's at least warmer. Yeah, it's somewhat warmer here. So, Dougius Stackius, my mad lad, he calls you. Doug, good to see you. And who else we got? Beth Kirkham, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. And Scott Lowry. And by the way, if you see things shaking, like if this computer goes like that, it's because somebody is moving around in the other part of this. We're in this enormous camper being shared by 3 grown men. And we've got another friend of ours, another grown man. And everybody's out there having pizza, and they move around too much. This whole thing shakes. So, as big as it is, as monstrous as is a mansion on wheels, and I'm out in the garage of this RV. So that gives you an idea how big it is. And so, if you see movement, that's probably what it is. So hello to everybody. If I missed you by accident, not on purpose, not skipping anybody. Thanks, Gerald. Thanks for subscribing. Carl Mulak, everybody. Carl Mulak, a dear old friend of mine to whom I am much indebted in life. And I love seeing Carl when he can make it here. Brother, it is so good to see you. I got to come out to West Virginia and see you again one of these days and visit. We got to go visit some sites again. I want to go up to that, is it called, not Stone Mountain, the mountain with the rocks on the top, where there's technically the first battle of the Civil War was fought there before there was really a Civil War going. And Carl has this great old house, Rich Mountain, that's what it is. And a great old house, a federal style house that dates back into the Civil War era, with great woodwork and just, I love your house. I want your house. I wish I had it for myself. So Carl's here. Sarah Nichols Media, you're here. Good to see you. Who else did I just see wander in? 1795, Carl's house was built in. He took me down in the basement, which, Carl, if memory serves, was the whole basement, a dirt floor, but he had a spring underneath his house with a little rivulet running through that. It's been there. That's probably why the house was built there, right on top of it. So, and that's pretty cool, I think. Helene Moody, I don't know if you go by Helen or Helene. Does the E at the end of your name mean Helene or Helene or Helen? So, Helen Moody, glad to have you. Evening, darling, she says. I'm watching this from my new temporary council flat. Only took a year of pandemic nonsense since I left London on the last train on lockdown day. Finally safe. Dental surgery, Thomas. And so glad to have you, Helene, all the way from Great Britain. Good to have you here. And so Steve Clark, welcome. Steve Clark, our Central Plains official. Good to have you here, brother. And so I said I'm going to hit a couple of political points, if you don't mind so much. The political points tonight, without getting into politics, I'm taking advantage of doing some politics tonight because we've avoided it for so long on this show. This show is basically not about politics. If you've come here for politics, we do it every now and then. Sometimes we'll go in a streak. We'll hit a big streak of we got to talk about politics. After the election and all that, I did a lot of politics for about a week in a row there, talking about the election and other things like that. So we don't do that every day, and never will. So Central Plains, whew, I can take the day off because Louisiana is covered, right? Yeah, by ice and rain. Hey, Morgan Snow, good to have you here. Look at that. I'm just feeling Ron Frisbee, brother artist, wonderful illustrator. Ron, you should throw up your link so people can go look at your artwork who haven't seen it. So it's good to see you all here tonight. Glad you're here. And so the first thing I want to hit is something that really bothered me. There are things that bother me in politics now every day. And I got to say, the headline on this is Don't Say Aliens, because the Biden administration instructs officials to use inclusive language to describe people in the country illegally. So it's kind of this messaging makeover. And I got to tell you something. I am so tired. I have so much in 3 weeks since the Biden administration began, filled with the touchy feelies and the feel goodism, the symbolism over substance, the um, less fact over not fiction. I can't remember what I was going to say with that, but it's become watching the Biden administration like watching somebody who's trying to make everybody feel good because we're going to represent every little thing here, and we're going to do this, and oh, we're going to change our pronouns. We're going to change the way they talk. And the Biden administration has now instructed the Department of Homeland Security officials to use more inclusive language to describe people residing in the country illegally. It's no fun being an illegal alien. So you can't use that word anymore. So you have to drop the word alien. Now it's not a law. This is what the administration is telling the Department of Homeland Security to do. Replace that word alien with non-citizen. You're a non-citizen, or as they said during the Obama administration, you're an as of yet undocumented citizen. What a load of crap. All right, moving on. Changes are reportedly part of an effort by the Biden administration to portray itself as more welcoming on immigration than the previous administration under President Trump, which would use terms such as, oh my, illegal alien. Do you feel more evil just saying that, just hearing it? Does it make your skin crawl? An illegal alien. And that's describing people who bypass the U.S. laws and security perimeters to enter and remain in the country. So there's a whole lot more to this story, which I'm not going to touch because what did I say? We're just going to touch on politics tonight. I'm not going to overdo it on politics. Now, by the way, speaking of aliens, something I wanted to bring to your attention from the American Military News as a source. The Pentagon asked if it has UFO crash materials. They were asked, the headline's worded funny. The Pentagon is asked if it has UFO crash materials. And here there's a cryptic 154-page response they gave to that. So last month, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA, responded to a 2017 Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, the FOIA, request for information on whether it possesses materials from UFO crashes. Woo! And the DIA replied with a 154-page report on materials that it studied, calling it, quote, documents responsive to your request, end quote, without directly saying if those materials came from a UFO crash. Now, the FOIA request, submitted by researcher Anthony Bragaglia, I think that's how you pronounce it, Bragaglia, requested UFO information that was including physical debris recovered by personnel of the Department of Defense as residue, flotsam, shot off material, or crashed material from the UAPS, unidentified aerial phenomena, or unidentified flying objects, which are UFOs. And Bragaglia further requested physical descriptions of all materials held, and the source of these materials and the circumstances by which they were obtained. And on January 8th of this year, after more than 3 years of waiting, Bragaglia received this 154-page FOIA response in 2 sections from the DIA. And while it doesn't appear, FOIA doesn't appear to address the source of these materials that they say they have in their possession, or the circumstances by which they were obtained. Bragaglia told the Sun, that the Sun newspaper, that the DIA's response is a stunning admission by the U.S. government. And the Pentagon has admitted to holding and testing anomalous debris from UFOs. Did you get that, folks? The government has admitted to holding and testing anomalous debris from UFOs. Field Guy says 154 pages of nonsense gibberish, I'm sure. Might be because it's governmentally presented. I'm sure they weren't very clear about things. They have to give her the questions in advance. Oh, are you talking about what's her name? The press secretary for Biden? I can't even remember her name. But I wish Trump would have leaked out all the information on UFOs before he left. Wouldn't that have been cool? And overdo it and then do it over, says Brianna. And Brianna Dunlap, good to have you, by the way. And so looking into this a little deeper, the DIA FOIA response includes 30 pages of information about metallic glass. Metallic glass. Remember the old the old Star Trek movie with the whales, Star Trek: The Return Home? And they were making, what was it? Transparent aluminum, says Scotty. Which was, who the hell knew what that was? It was science fiction. But metallic glasses, including their potential aerospace applications. There were 32 pages of information about biomaterials, 27 pages about materials for advanced aerospace platforms, 27 pages about metallic spintronics, that's spinning electronics, and 38 pages about aerospace applications. Now, Bragaglia said that some of the materials the DIA possess have, quote, extraordinary capabilities, end quote, including a memory metal called nitinol, what they've named nitinol, which can return to its original shape after having been bent or deformed. And in the FOIA response, Steve Tomisky, who is the chief of the agency's Records Management and Information Services, said some portions of the response had to be redacted. And there's a quote from him. He says, they're omitting information on the chemical and elemental composition of the material as well as its origin, Bragaglia said. And they've omitted the names of the involved scientists as well. But I've since learned some of their names and will be contacting them. This is what he said. And responding to an American military news request for comment, a DIA FOIA spokesperson said they could not provide a public statement on the disclosed material. But we can't talk about it. It's disclosed, but we can't talk about it. But they said the DIA plans to eventually make their response to Bergaglia's FOIA request. They want to make it publicly and available at the DIA and the FOIA reading room website. And so the DIA and the FOIA response also references Bigelow Aerospace in reference to tests on the UAP material, the Bigelow UFO material. The Bigelow Aerospace is a space technology company, probably like Stark Industries, based in Las Vegas, Nevada. And in 2017, the New York Times, Bigelow Aerospace founder Robert Bigelow has been working with NASA on expandable aircraft for humans to use in space. And Bigelow told former Senator Harry Reid, Democrat from Nevada, Reid is a putz, but hey, it's my opinion. But Reid was big on UFO disclosure, that he'd been approached by the DIA to lead a research program on UFOs. Now, there is the DIA's disclosures come to the Pentagon. They've disclosed numerous documents relating to UFO sightings in recent months. So here you go. That is some amazing information that's coming out on the UFO topic. And I don't talk about that very much. I don't know what to believe about UFOs other than to say this. There is, now listen to me closely, there's more proof that UFOs exist and that aliens exist than God exists. It's going to fly in the face of your faith. I know. Don't be offended. Just look at what I said. What proofs do we have that God exists? What proofs do we have that UFOs and aliens possibly exist? So there you go. So there's a lot of information that has, I believe in aliens, says Doug. I believe. So I believe that they are real. I don't believe we're alone in the universe, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you start getting Ryan Gale is here. Ryan, I don't know if you've been here before, but this is the first time I think I've seen you here. Ryan is an old friend of mine that used to do the Scottish regiment reenacting with me from the 1750s, French and Indian War. And Ryan plays fiddle and he does all this stuff with us. And so he was our company musician. And why, hello, Susie Q. And so, Ryan, it's good to have you here tonight. And what was the town that the UFO crashed in back in the 50s? You're talking about, Steve, you're talking about Roswell in New Mexico back in 47? Yeah, there's been a lot that's been written about and talked about Roswell. I think so much so that it creates almost, now this sounds so very conspiratorial, and I try not to be that way, but I think it provides a very good misinformation cover story for what happened in Roswell. Now, you all know me by now. I can entertain conspiracy theories. I can entertain woo stories. I can entertain things of the paranormal, things of the ufological, things of the cryptozoological. I entertain a lot of that stuff. I am not a true believer. I am a skeptical believer because I believe that, well, like Michael Shermer says, um, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And I believe that about a lot of things. I believe that from religious things to governmental things to everything in that metaphysical or paranormal realm. And so, ghosts built the pyramids, said Field Guy. Shut up, Field Guy. We're all so used to you. Don't take him seriously. And I don't mean shut up in a negative way, in a positive way. And so I'm not a firm believer in all of these things. I am a firm skeptical believer. Hey, Elderberry, good to have you. And so I thought that was just very interesting. Excuse me. Get that out of my system for radio. Live scintillating radio, folks. So we talked enough about Joe Biden and the illegal alien thing, and the political correctness squad is now in power. And so you're going to hear a lot of that. One other last political thing I want to mention is the comparison that has been made between the rioters from this last summer for the Black Lives Matter, which everybody's so trying to separate those protesters from Black Lives Matter. There's working so overtime and so hard to make a separation between the two or make no comparison between the two. You had Joe Scarsborough from MSNBC, who I used to like a long time ago. I even started buying Starbucks Morning Joe coffee because that's what they made to honor him in a way, and I liked the coffee. And I think I still have a bag of it somewhere, a bag of the beans to grind. But Joe Scarborough has definitely become one of those people over the last several years that I've lost taste with. Now, he said to somebody this morning in an interview, um, or speaking to no one, he says, "No, jackass. Last summer's Black Lives Matter violence and destruction weren't as bad as the Capitol riot." So wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm from Minneapolis. You remember me telling you how I used to office? I had my studio right at the corner of the streets of Hennepin and Lake Street, which was just a couple of blocks up from kind of the Lindale and Lake Street, where all of this burning took place and rioting took place last summer. This was my old neighborhood. And there were over 150 businesses burned to the ground. People lost their livelihoods. The neighbors in this neighborhood, the people who lived in the area, lost their businesses and were unable to recover them. And if you, by the way, if you ever wonder how FEMA works, when there's a disaster, the government comes in and helps you pay something off or buy new. Well, I'm down here in Louisiana. We're working with a lot of people who've lost their roofs and have damage to their homes from the last two hurricanes. And some of these people don't have insurance on their homes. And these would be homes that are either paid off or it's lapsed, or it's lapsed and the bank has taken over the insurance for the house. And the bank will only pay somebody the value of what's still in their unpaid mortgage. And so you might have a $150,000 house and owe $70,000 on it. They're only going to give you a percentage of that 70,000 to help fix your home up. And if you can't make it, you know what? They kick you out and then they put the money in to refurbish it. But that just is an example. But these people in FEMA around here, we've said to people who haven't had insurance, did you try applying for FEMA? We can help you do that. And some of the people said that I just found out the other day, most people who apply for FEMA get less than 10% of the value of what they need to restore their home. There was a woman I saw, she had insurance came in and did, or I'm sorry, an adjuster came in and told her that her roof was about $12,000 worth of not an adjuster, um, a company like ours, a construction company. Came in and told her it cost $12,000 to replace her roof, which is kind of a small to medium small sized house. And she said she didn't have insurance, and she went to FEMA, and FEMA gave her a check for $1,200. That's all she qualified for. And so some of these people who lost their businesses, their livelihoods up in Minneapolis, you know what? Those people couldn't recover from it. And so you have people that lost their business. Now, granted, if I remember right, there was nobody killed in the Minneapolis riots, or maybe one person died, if I remember correctly. But you had 150 people losing their homes. But here you got Joe Scarsborough telling us that the Black Lives Matter violence and destruction weren't as bad as the Capitol riot. Where on the Capitol building, a few windows were smashed out, a door was smashed, no statuary was defaced, nothing was done inside other than messing around in Pelosi's office and somebody else's office and tipping over a podium. That was the damage. The loss of life, they say there were 4 or 5 people that were killed. One of them was a rioter, a couple of cops, somebody was hit over the head with something, and he later succumbed to that. I saw something about one of the stories of one of the cops not being true. So we're not quite sure of all the facts, but loss of life is obviously a problem. But here, Joe Scarborough went on to say, I'm not going to confuse the loss of a taco stand with the United States Capitol building. The loss, he's comparing the Minneapolis riots and the riots that took place all over the country as the loss of a taco stand. And so immediately following the Capitol riot in DC, a major point of contention among conservatives has been that leftists far and wide decried the quote unquote insurrection of January 6th while ignoring or even justifying the months and months of violence and destruction from Black Lives Matter and Antifa that took place across America all through the summer and the autumn of last year. And he said, addressing the quote, idiots on other cable news channels, end quote, who say the crime of mom and pop stores being vandalized during the summer riots is just as bad as the United States Capitol being vandalized. And Scarborough threw down, no, jackass, it's not. And so the Capitol, he goes on and says, the capital of the United States of America is the center of American democracy, he continued. And while I'm a fierce believer in people's right to defend their private property, I'm not going to confuse a taco stand with the United States Capitol. I'm not going to confuse the selling of tacos with actually moving through a constitutional process. So, first of all, Joe Scarborough is indeed very confused, if you ask me. There were over 500,000 protesters, peaceful protesters, following Donald Trump's speech on January 6th. They were asked, go down to the Capitol, protest, let your voice be heard. Stop the steal, all of that stuff, all the rhetoric that went with it. And there were a handful, veritable handful of people that were the rioters, those causing damage, those committing damage. Donald Trump did not incite insurrection. I'm going to tell you something. Maybe this is a bit flippant, but if Donald Trump had been pushing an insurrection, if Donald Trump had been backing a coup, it probably would have been successful. I'm just telling you that. So that is not what happened that day. And so the rhetoric is rich, and the rhetoric has become actually over the top. And if you can't compare violence for violence, I think the people who committed violent acts at the Capitol on January 6th are just as bad as the people who burned down homes during the riot. And so this argument went on and on and on. And I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to get into it too deep, or we'll spend the whole hour on it. But there you go. There's my politics for this evening. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about the riots by, the rioters at the Capitol being compared to the rioters at BLM protests? Do you think they should be compared or shouldn't be compared? There it is. Yeah, channel I follow says Field Guy was there and filmed the riots. He walked right up to the cops and they were saying, go in, we can't stop you. Here's the thing. I saw those same videos with dozens of people outside the Capitol building following in a straight line, and the Capitol cop opening the door for them, saying, come on in. He says, I don't agree with your politics, but you're welcome in. You also had the cops moving the barricades, cops opening the front doors. And so those people were let in. They didn't have to break in. Some people climbed the side of the building and smashed windows. But if you got 500,000 people there, do you think there might be a few activists in the crowd that had nothing to do with the president? If the president was pushing those people to attack their capital and to forcibly take over, what do you think would have happened with 500,000 people incited by that violence or committing violence as a direct incitement of the President of the United States, I think something would have happened greater than what we saw. It's a political game, folks. It's political theater. And this is the capitalization on the riot at the Capitol that you're going to see taking place. Boom. I got to move on from that, or we'll be on it all night. Let's see. Oh, I'm seeing. Is there strife inside the chat room? To say that Beth said, I think the Capitol rioters should be hung. Well, that's a big step, Beth. I think. I respect your right to say that and express that. But are you talking hung as a result of a fair trial? Are you talking hung because somebody, I don't know, drew and quartered them in the crowd and took them out? I think there's different ways to look at that. I understand what Beth is saying is that she thinks that those people should be tried. And maybe so. How many are you going to try? Who actually committed violence? Who actually was there with the intent of overthrowing their government? Who was there to protest and have their voices be heard by Congress? There's a big difference, I think, in all of that stuff. And who is this handsome man? Are you speaking to me, Macabre? So Morgan Snow says, and now they use it to have all these troops in D.C. Yeah, there you go. Troops and barbed wire in D.C. Nothing to be afraid of, though. It's just Trump inciting people, right? And so Rand Paul should have went in and disputed. Yeah, I agree. Get your channel taken down because of it. You don't hang people for breaking and entering. I agree. You don't do that. It was breaking and entering. And the people who killed people should be held accountable. There should be a trial to determine whether the killing was in self-defense, whether the killing was riotous, whether it was murder. I think Allie, and I'm not remembering her last name, the protester, the rioter, who was shot dead on the floor outside the door they were smashing the window of into the Capitol. She's shot dead. Who should be held responsible for that? And is there any recompense for that death? Should somebody lose their life for smashing a window or attempting to enter a window that they didn't even smash with their own hands? Should they lose their life? I know right now, what's the stuff with all the gun laws? Somebody breaks into your home, you're on very shaky ground if you shoot them, if you fear for your life. But if you storm the Capitol building because there's a bunch of millionaire senators or congressmen in there, congresspeople in there, and you're storming this symbol of our democracy, and you break a window, you can be shot dead without impunity or with impunity. So now those are my opinions, of course. It's the way I see this thing. And so Ashley Babbitt, he was Babbitt. Thank you, Brianna Dunlap. And so there you go. So let's move on. I don't want to stick. Barbie D, good to see you tonight. Glad you're here. And by the way, for those of you who were here last night, we had a couple of nights in a row, it seemed, where we had some technical difficulties. For some reason, my whole studio, my whole life, my whole professional life, from radio to my art and design work to my writing, everything I have done for the last 30 years of my life, I started on a Apple computer, a Mac, in 1989 with the Mac 2 CI, which had the power of, there's more power in a USB stick than there was on a Mac 2 CI. Being flippant a little bit, but it would be something where I'm working in Photoshop and I'd hit a function like paint, fill this area with a color. I'd hit the go on the fill and go to lunch and hope it was done by the time I got back. Now, light speed compared to that. And so I've been on a Mac for 30 years, actually 1989, 32 years I've been on a Mac. And I come down here and I've got my temporary digs set up. I couldn't bring my whole big laptop or desktop system with me. And so I came down and my laptop pooped out on me. So I got a PC to use. And it's my Apple laptop. The graphics card is out. I got to go get that repaired. And so I'm using a PC. And I am utterly lost in the PC universe. And so we had some technical difficulties last night with the camera. I can't explain because the night before we broadcast just fine. Then last night, without redoing any settings at all, what happened? I came on here and it wasn't working. I had to go through, it took me 40 minutes, as most of you who were here are aware, to dump. I had to finally go dump some programs and reboot the computer to prevent the computer or from YouTube from grabbing the camera from the wrong file. I don't know anything about PC. So there you go. Boom. PC. You got to wear funny hats or tinfoil suits or something. And so there you go. Aliens and Ghosts happened last night. Maybe so. Maybe so. And by the way, I am more apt, when I say I'm a skeptical believer, I'm more apt to believe in ghosts or spirits or whatever they might be because I've seen them. I've encountered them. They've talked to me. They've touched me. They've pushed me. I've felt those things firsthand. And no, I wasn't on drugs. I wasn't overtired. I didn't need to see things so badly that I had to make shit up. I've been there. I've seen it. I've heard it. I've recorded it. A lot of you have heard some of the things that we've recorded, seen some of the pictures, seen some of the stuff. It's a very real thing. Now, the big question is that ghost of my old great aunt really a ghost of my old great aunt, or is it something else? Is it demons? Is it evil spirits? Is it aliens? Is it interdimensional? We don't know for sure what causes it, but it's there. Hell yeah, I did, Macabre. I like the word shit. I like the word fuck. They're great words to use. It's too bad that people, in general, kind of can't say that on the radio. That's why we're not officially on radio. By the way, I got to take a drink of something. I'm wearing out my throat. It's actually water, but with a little powdered lemonade in it. So there you go. Yes, they're very expressive words, Steph. That's why I like using them, and I enjoy them. So let's move on into. I said we were going to do testing tonight, and I want to get to this before we run out of time. We may not even have time to do the whole thing. Last night, we talked about the Dark Triad. What's the Dark Triad again? For those of you who weren't here, we're talking about it's narcissistic personality disorder. It involves narcissism, Machiavellianism, and pathological. What's the word I was using? It's a pathology. Those three things together. So we looked into that a little bit more. There's a Dark Triad test. And there's 36 questions. We went through a few of them last night. And I'm going to see if we can reset this because I've still got up here. We're still on question 11 from last night. Let's see if we can get back to the beginning of this. Let's see. All right, I'm going to go back. And I want you to get your pencils and paper ready. Let's see if we can do this. What's it doing? It's not moving for me is what it's doing. Not quite sure. So I'm gonna copy this test. Hang on with me, folks. We'll get this done. And paste it there. Boom. All right, here we go. It's from IDR Labs, the Individual Differences Research. And why is this test valid? The Dark Triad is a personality inventory that explores the socially undesirable traits of narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. And the Dark Triad test is often used by police, by the court system, And in psychiatric wards and evaluations, this test is used. And even in big corporations, studies have shown that people who score high on the Dark Triad are more likely to commit crimes or get in trouble with the law, and also more likely to cause social distress among their friends or problems for their workplace. And on the other hand, some of these studies with the Dark Triad individuals are often perceived as possessing this leadership qualities. It's funny, some of the same negative things about personalities are also some of the same things that give you leadership qualities. And they have high social status and comparative ease of attaining desirable sex partners. Whew. Pete just said over there, Pete, my partner, everybody hates a winner. There it is. And so, you know what came to my mind really quick for all you Trekkies out there? Remember the episode of alternate Intruder? It's where Kirk in the old original episodes was split into two individuals by the transporter. Some transporter malfunction. And it split him, for sake of science fiction, into the good Kirk and the evil Kirk. And one thing they found was that the good, compassionate Kirk was a gentle soul. He loved and he cherished, and but he lost his ability to be a steely commander. On the other hand, the evil Kirk, who was going to rape his yeoman, Janice Rand, who was ready to kill, violent, he was the guy that possessed the command abilities, the abilities to make the hard decisions. So sometimes these qualities are good things because even though they're wrapped up in a bad personality type. And so this is one of those things we got to look at and say, wow, what does that all mean? And so in looking at this, there is a test and there's 36 questions. You ready here now? We got about 15 minutes left of the show. We'll go overtime if we need to. And you all have my permission to stay late for class today. So here you go. I want to say this first about the test. Why use this test at all? Because number one, it has high validity and reliability. There's really good scientific evidence that the three Dark Triad traits are solid as constructs, and that the Dark Triad framework should be admitted into the mainstay of scientific personality testing. And the test is free; it doesn't cost you anything, and it's benchmarked to population averages. I'm going to see if what we can get as the results of all these. But now you've got one of two answers for every question I'm going to ask: agree or disagree. All right, ready for the first question? Some of these we may have had last night. We're going to recap the few that we did last night. First, it's not necessarily a question; it's a statement. Now you just mark on your piece of paper: agree or disagree. Y'all got your pencils handy? Here we go. Here we go. Question number one. I fantasize about extraordinary prestige or status. You agree or disagree? I fantasize about extraordinary prestige or status. I fantasize about that. All right? Answer your question. We're moving on. They're really simple. Number two, I manipulate others to get my way. Agree or disagree? Number three, I dominate social situations. Dominate. It's the key word. Agree or disagree? The next question. I am number four. I am egocentric. I got to back up a little bit because we actually started, I think, on question 11. So let's go back to number one. All people are deserving of basic respect. Agree or disagree? All people are deserving of basic respect. Number two, actually, in the whole test, I am cynical. Come on, field guy. I know you're an agree on that one. I always like giving the field guy shit because he puts so much of it out there. So I am cynical. Agree or disagree? Not me, you. You're asking yourself this question. Number 3, I have good relations with my family. Agree or disagree? You and your family, eh, like that. Most people are lazy and don't work hard unless they have to. Agree or disagree? Number 5, I mislead people so as to look better in their eyes. I mislead people so I look better in their eyes. Agree or disagree? It's about yourself, not me. I being you. Number 6. Now remember, we started at 11 because I accidentally was at number 11 when we started. So we're picking up the first 10 questions. Number 6. I want others to admire me. Agree or disagree? 7. Being ethical is more important than getting ahead in the world. Being ethical is more important than getting ahead in the world. Agree or disagree? I have grandiose tendencies, is number 8. I have grandiose tendencies. Agree or disagree? Number 9, I get frustrated easily. Agree or disagree? Number 10, I expect special favors from others. Agree or disagree? Now we're getting to number 11, which is where we actually started by accident tonight. But here we go. Let's go back into these. Um, 11 we asked already, and that was I fantasize about extraordinary prestige or status. We already asked that one. You already answered that. Number 12 was I manipulate others to get my way. Already answered that. 13 was I dominate social situations. You already answered that one. 14, the last one we had ended on, I am egocentric. And you already should have answered that one. Now, let's move on. Now that we've caught up. All right. Question 15. I easily lose my temper. Agree or disagree? And again, I'm not asking I. You're not supposed to go, oh, yeah, Scotty easily loses his temper. He's an ass. Yeah, so I agree. No, this is you. I easily lose my temper. Agree or disagree? 16. I do what I want and do not feel particularly obliged to anyone. Agree or disagree? 17. I look down on people who unwisely share their secrets. I didn't say, the question doesn't say who share their secrets, it's who unwisely. So I'm not going to editorialize too much because it's the way you interpret this. I look down on people who unwisely share their secrets. Agree or disagree? Question 18. Caring about the morality of your actions is for losers. Pete's over there nodding. I don't know if it's at the question or something else. He's playing games with his headset on over there. It's the question. Caring about the morality of your actions is for losers. Agree or disagree? All right, let's move on. Steve just asked, what was number 16? Steve, let me move back one or two. We're on 18. Let's see, 17. 16 was I do what I want and do not feel particularly obliged to anyone. 17 again was, we already did this one. I look down on people who unwisely share their secrets. 18 now is, which we were just on, caring about the majority of your actions is for losers. 19, I despise people who can't control their emotions. I despise people who can't control their emotions. Agree or disagree? 20, I deserve to have great recognition, acknowledgement, and success come my way. I deserve to have great recognition, acknowledgement, and success come my way. Number 21. I get moods where I act on a whim, thinking little of the consequences or the risk. I get moods where I act on a whim, thinking little of the consequences or the risk. Agree or disagree? 22. I avoid direct conflict with people who may be useful to me in the future. Restate that. I avoid direct conflict with people who may be useful to me in the future. All right, we're on number 22 of 36. Let's see. Number 23. I have a grand sense of self importance. Agree or disagree? 24. I exploit others toward my own ends. Now, like I said last night, each one of these could be a topic all unto itself for talking about. Because you could take a statement like, I exploit others toward my own ends. You could break that down in many different interpretables. But this is how you would immediately gut reaction respond to that. I exploit others toward my own ends. Exploit can be a positive or a negative. So it's how you interpret this. Number 25. I'm not as upset as others when someone dies. I am not as upset as others when someone dies. Beth Kirkham says, I took the test earlier today. My results, I'm an extrovert, agreeable, organized, statistically prone to stress and mental illness, openness, I am traditional, no psychopaths or Machiavellianism. There you go. Outstanding, Beth. Field Guy says, I have no feelings when someone passes. How do you feel about Rush Limbaugh passing today? I was going to open with that today and I didn't. I have my own things to say about Rush. Sad he passed on, and maybe we'll talk about that before we're done with the show tonight. So, 26. I feel that I am more special than other people. Agree or disagree? 27. I use insincere flattery to get my way. You have the most amazing blue eyes. Ah, the azure of your eyes could dim the blue of the skies, and the sun could fade in its radiance next to the countenance that I see before my eyes. Okay, we don't talk like that so much anymore, but I use insincere flattery to get my way. It reminds me when I was at the Renaissance Festival, I played a character who was a bastard earl, and this bastard duke was the sidekick of the royal prince. And we were well dressed, well sorted, um, charming, womanizing, drunken, ne'er do well royals that would wander around. And it was my job to keep the royal prince in line when we were out on the streets wandering with them. We had royal guard all around us that would follow us everywhere. And the prince would say, and the prince was a very handsome man, and he would say, my character's name was Edmund. He'd say, Edmund, he says, there is a woman I would like to meet. Woo her for me. Show me how it's done. I'd say, well, your majesty, I'll show you. And I would take a woman's hand and I'd say, ah, sweet mistress, what your name is, else I know not, nor by what wonder you do hit of mine less in all your knowledge and grace. You show More than earth, you show divine. Speak, dear creature, and I shall dote, spread o'er the silver waves thy golden brunette red, whatever kind of hair she had. And I'll take them, and there lie in that bed. And in this glorious supposition think he gains by death that hath such means to die. Let love being drown, or die if she sink. And then the azure eyes and the radiant face thing and all of that. And then the prince would say, "Oh, no, Edmund, let me try, let me try." And he would take the woman's hand and he'd kiss her knuckle and he'd say, "Oh, fair maiden, I hope. The blue of your eyes," and he'd look at me, "That blue of her eyes?" And I said, "Yes, yes, yes, your majesty, the blue of her eyes. Oh, the blue of your eyes is like the blue of the privy water, where I may relieve myself. That's the feeling it brings up." I go, "No, no, your majesty, no, 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 no. Never compare a woman's eyes to privy water." And anyway, that's what we did. And many times he would introduce himself to a woman. He says, "Oh, sweet lady." And he'd take her hand, he'd kiss her hand, and he said, "Sweet lady," he says, "you're radiant. I am Prince Philip. I am charming, but insincere." And so that's what that just reminded me of. All that to illustrate that point of what we used to do, to illustrate the point of number uh, 27. I use insincere flattery to get my way. Charming, but insincere. All right, next. Thank you for that little theatrical interlude. 28. I use lies to get my way. I use lies to get my way. Agree or disagree? 29. I have often been called callous or insensitive. Remember, you're asking yourself this. I've often been called callous or insensitive. Yes or no? Agree or disagree? 30. I've never been in trouble with the law. Agree or disagree? Just being tracked by a posse of security guards from a third world tin pot dictatorship count as being in trouble with the law? Just curious. Never mind. 31. Others should pay special attention to me. Others should pay special attention to me. Agree or disagree? 32. I'm especially motivated towards making friends with famous people. That's a motivation of mine. I'm especially motivated toward making friends with famous people. And I'm better than others, is number 33. Disagree or agree? I'm better than others. Now, by the way, you might be able to say, "I don't know how to answer that. I'm better than others at some things. I'm worse than others at some things." This is all, just take it. I am better than others. Agree or disagree? 34. I can enjoy picking on losers. Agree or disagree? Pete over there just said, "Hell yes." Sorry, folks. Maybe there's that bad streak in me. There you go. He's a good loser, but he's a poor winner. So I'm worse than most, says Field Guy. Bernard says, I like anyone half nice. What was the line from The Hobbit? Who's been both the book and the movie with uh, Bilbo Baggins at the party, and he says, "I like half of you twice as much as I should, and twice of you half as much as I should." Whatever his line was. It was kind of like that. Duplicitous little line there, wrapped up in itself. So I enjoy picking on losers, was number 34. Let's move on to 35. I often lack remorse. Agree or disagree? And then our final one, 36. I keep track of sensitive information that can be used to hurt people at a later time. Now, hurt might be the key in that, but I keep track of sensitive information that can be used to hurt people at a later time. Agree or disagree? Now, my topic, some people keep track of information so they can protect themselves, others so they can use it against somebody. So take that as it comes. Now, let's take a look at this, the finishes on this. Let's see. Here we go. All right. Now I've got answers on a population average and you. All right. Wait, hold on a second. I didn't actually take the test, so let's see. It's calculating answers here that are not right. But narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, and average. There's an average here. It's got me at 50%, but I didn't answer any question. It says I am 16.83% darker than the average person. Now that's interesting because I didn't actually take the test. There was nothing to click on. Now that's not going to help us any to score yourself. So, let's see. Let's see what the population average is. It's really not telling me much. Oh, this is deficient. You can't just read through the questions without taking the test because all it does is create. Here, I'm going to give you the link. Now that you've asked those questions, I am going to give you the link to this. If I didn't already put it in there. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it into the chat room window. Now you can go over here. We gave this link last night as well. There it is. Now you can go over. We've gone through that test. Those are the questions that are in there. And so you can go click on that link and you have to click on your answer, agree or disagree. And this is bull donkey, says Doug Stack. I hate people who give me tests and don't tell me how to score it. Agree or disagree, Doug? So, yeah, I got to the end of the test there and it didn't really give me. I want to just double check this if it allows me to even click on agree or disagree. It doesn't even allow you to click on. Oh, maybe it does. Yeah, you can. You can click on the disagree or agree. That's what I didn't do through the whole test. So I didn't rate myself for you guys. That's interesting. So you'll never know what I really am. But I must have clicked on a couple of them by accident as I was proceeding. So it rated me at 16.83%. Dark Triad. Morgan Snow said she did some last night, and I'm darker than I thought. Yeah, sometimes we get that. This is bull donkey, says Doug Stack. Worth repeating. Do you find tests without answers more bull donkey or not? Agree or disagree? 5 yes, 31 no, says Gerald. So I don't know what that comes out to be, to tell you the truth, because it doesn't tell me on the site. Maybe go in, now that you know the test, you can go in and find out what that test tells you. Or, because it doesn't tell me how to score the test. It scores it on the website. So sorry about that. I didn't know that that's how that ended this little test on here. So go take the test and see what it says. There's no right or wrong answer. This is something that's evaluating your personality. What did you say here, Bernard? You're so nice, but you assholes. Scotty, you saved my life for a year, but oh, the test, that's it. Unsub joke. Thank you, Bernard. So, you are light, brother, not dark. Well, thank you. I don't know if you're talking to me or somebody else. Thank you, Brianna, if that was for me. Steve Clark says, until I check mine, I will not say my answers. Sorry, that's okay, Steve. You don't have to tell anybody your answers at all. It's just a test for us to take a look at ourselves. I can do it. I could do the test. I could go probably run through it really quick and tell you what my score is. Why don't you hang on here? I'll tell you what my score is. This will give you a chance to go all the way back to the beginning and hear this again with me. I'm going to take the test again. Here you go. You ready? I often lack remorse. Disagree. Next. I use lies to get my way. I disagree. Next. Most people are lazy and don't work hard unless they have to. I agree. Next. Because we're all lazy, aren't we? We all would rather not have to work. Now, I'm not talking about things we enjoy doing that end up being work. I'm talking about going to work, punching the clock, so on. I'm especially motivated towards making friends with famous people. Disagree. I avoid direct conflict with people who may be useful to me in the future. Disagree. I mislead people so as to look better in their eyes. Disagree. I look down on people who unwisely share their secrets. Agree, in general. I am better than others. On some things, yes. And if I were to look at that innately and say I'm better than people, I would say I disagree with that. Next. I fantasize about extraordinary prestige or status. You know what? I fantasize about a hell of a lot of things. I fantasize about being a starship captain with gloriously scantily clad women around me as my yeomans. Is that narcissistic? I don't know. But I fantasize about extraordinary prestige or status. It's a fantasy. But I say, as a going concern, I don't. So I'm going to disagree with that. I easily lose my temper. Sometimes I'm going to agree with that, just to acknowledge my negative side. I dominate social situations. Sometimes I'm going to say I agree with that. I tend to be a bit domineering. I talk a lot. You know what I'm like, guys. So I'll agree with that. I have a good relations with my family. I agree. I have never been in trouble with the law. Define trouble and define if it's a tin pot dictator's security guard chasing me through the mountains. So I've never been in trouble with the law. Disagree. I've been in trouble with the law. Not like I haven't murdered somebody or anything like that, but I manipulate others to get my way. I disagree. I don't like manipulating anyone. I get moods where I act on a whim, thinking little of the consequences or risk. I agree. There are times I will jump out and I will leap before I think about what I'm doing to reach the end. I have often been called callous or insensitive. I have sometimes been called that, but it's more in the political arena and in social media where people are assholes. So I'm going to disagree. I use insincere flattery to get my way. Huh? Sweet mistress. Nah, it's usually sincere. So I will disagree. I have a grand sense of self importance. I think we all do. Yeah, I have a grand sense of self importance. I do. Grandiose, over grandiose. I have some self importance. That means I value who I am, I value my decisions. I don't know if it's meant to be a more negative question than that, but I'll agree with that. I have a grand sense of self importance. Next. I keep track of sensitive information that can be used to hurt people at a later time. I totally disagree. I don't do anything to hurt people. Next. All people are deserving of basic respect. I agree. Next. I'm not upset as others when someone dies. I disagree. Well, it all depends on who it is. Rush Limbaugh died today. Upset me. I do what I want and do not feel particularly obliged to anyone. I can't. I have to disagree with that because I'm totally obliged to my wife and my family. I respect special favors from others. Oh, I expect special favors from others. Disagree. I don't expect anything. Somebody from Scotland, Heather White, drew a picture of me today. I posted it on my Facebook. Might have to scroll down a few posts to find it. I was totally thrown back by that. She totally surprised me with that. It was very cool, and I felt very honored, but I don't expect it. I feel that I'm more special than others. Depends on how you define special. Uh, no, I don't. I don't believe that of myself. Caring about the morality of your actions is for losers. We say hell yeah flippantly, but the morality of my actions, if I cared about those, I would be a loser. I can't live my life that way, so I have to disagree. I am egocentric. Yes, to a certain point, I am. Egocentric for me is not always a negative thing. Sometimes you have to think about what you're doing. To do well for my family, I have to think of myself. To do well at work, I have to think of myself and my presentation, the way I look, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I'm a bit egocentric. I'm going to say I agree. You have to be in radio. I enjoy picking on losers. Yeah, I have to agree. I do. And you get into this is the way, Pete said. All right. Don't judge me. I get frustrated easily. All depends on what it is, but I agree. I get frustrated easily. You saw me with the camera not working last night. I exploit others toward my own ends. I disagree. I don't exploit anybody. Others should pay special attention to me on certain things, not everything, but in general, no, no. People shouldn't. I disagree. People shouldn't pay special attention to me. I have grandiose tendencies. Maybe I'll agree with that. I have big plans and big dreams and big adventures and all of that. So I have to agree with that. Being ethical is more important than getting ahead in the world. I have to agree with that. I would rather be ethical than getting ahead. I don't want to get ahead and have been totally unethical and an asshole in the process. I despise people who can't control their emotions. Thank you, Mr. Spock. I don't know that I despise them, but I have a hard time with people who can't control their emotions, put a better control on what they do, the way they express in public or wherever. I'm stuck on that one. I don't despise it. Well, I do despise some people. I'm going to have to say, just to be fair, I'll say I agree with that, that I despise people who can't control their emotions. I can't control my own emotions sometimes. Maybe I don't despise them. I am cynical. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I'm going to say I agree with that a little bit. I want others to admire me. Yeah, of course I do. I don't want others to worship me or anything like that, but I love it. Who doesn't love being admired? When Heather White drew that picture of me today, I felt very admired and it was very cool and it made me feel very good. Do I seek it out? No. And the last question, I deserve to have great recognition, acknowledgement, and success come my way. Who doesn't? Yes, I deserve that. I deserve it because I put out, now maybe I'm interpreting this, but I put out intention. I put out visualization. I go into actualization to try to make things happen. I deserve the things that I work hard to achieve because I've worked hard to achieve them. So I deserve, do I just deserve it because I'm a human being? No. So, see, this is for me, this is why some of these questions are hard. I deserve to have great recognition, acknowledgement, and success come my way. Well, yeah, but only if I work hard to get there. So I don't know how to answer that. I deserve it. Yeah, okay, I'll agree with it. Finish. Okay, here we go. Let's see what this says. Okay, here we are. My narcissism, 50%. I'm half narcissistic. My Machiavellianism, 40%, slightly lower. My psychopathy, 50%, halfway there. And so my average total over the whole thing of narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, according to this test, the way I took it and interpreted it, I'm 47% Dark Triad. So I'm not halfway there, but I'm pushing to get there. So I could share that on Facebook. I don't know if I want to. So I don't know. What do you think of that? Does that sound like me? Kind of person I am? Field guy was 58 and 50. 58 and 50. There you go. Average 36. Dark personality. I guess I'm more Dark Triad than Field guy, which kind of surprises me. Can anyone tell me what I'm supposed to be? I don't think so, Steve. I think this is all the way you view the question when you're answering it, what it means to you, and it's supposed to be raw from the gut. That's what I feel. So nobody will know, only you'll know the answer to the test. Beth Kirkham was 2%. You were 2% narcissistic, 2% Dark Triad. Beth? Doug Stack said, I'm 50, 25, and 58, and a 44%. I still scored higher than you, loser. I'm 47%. Doug's 44%. Field guy. Apparently, I'm not that much of an asshole as people think. I've never thought you were an asshole. You're cynical. Doug Stack, 10.83% darker than the average. There you go. Steve Clark, Scotty, my score is a before 6 agree and 30 disagree. You got 6 agree and disagree. I'm not sure how to interpret that, Steve, because sometimes the agree questions mean you're agreeing with what makes you part of the Dark Triad, and what you disagree with might be the opposite. So I don't know. There's no way I know how to rate that. Bernard says, hey, I heard I have 51% good in this world. You scrape in to next level. This is a popular world, a polar world. Got to look all ways, or you're left right. Truth is in the middle. I think I basically agree with that, Bernard. Brianna says, Scotty Roberts is him and Steve is Steve. Perfect. There you go. Yeah, we're just ourselves, guys. Steve, I love you and respect you. I love what you bring to the table. I love your personality. And I'm empathetic towards some of the hurts and pains you have. So I don't think this test is anything but to tell you what you think, to tell you a result of what you think about these questions when they hit you. I have to take the test again, dang, to get the answer. Sorry, brother. I can't answer it. So did I just see Michelle Kenham McFree pop into the room? She says, I hope you're all having a fabulous night. You should have been here with us, Michelle. You could have had a fabulous night along with us. There was rum. Arr. Captain says, climb the mizzen mast. I say, how can I climb it if it's mizzen? Where's the rum? So McFreezer, says Doug Stack. Still feeling that anxiety today and trying to push it away. Steve says I'm crazy and laughs. Aren't we all, Steve? To a certain extent, aren't we all? So Doug Stack, there was strife in the chat room tonight. Oh, I didn't see it. I was too busy talking. I wasn't looking at the chat room. So I missed it. I'm going to have to go back and look at it when it's back out. Now, by the way, this show in its archived form will appear immediately when we're done with the show tonight. But the chat room sometimes takes up to 24 hours to propagate. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if YouTube's checking it or it's just the way it's set up. I really don't get it. So we'll see. Brianna says, yes, polarity, manipulation, and encouragement are the same thing. Trying to change another. And I agree. That's where I got stuck on that. Do I want to manipulate people into doing what I want them to? No. Do I want to encourage people? What is the best thing to do? Sure. Do I sometimes want to encourage people to do things that I want them to do? Is that manipulation? Is that narcissistic? Machiavellian? You know what I want you all to do if you haven't done it? Hit the join button down below. It's good for you. It's good for me. Hit the join button. You'll see 3 different ways to become members of this channel. $2, $5, $15 a month. repeatedly, it comes out automatically. Go ahead and join up. $2 gets you basically thanks for doing that because it throws $2 in the coffers for this show. $5 gets you a little bit more. You get to see some private. I did a private members only, all members of this channel, a private coffee time the other day. I didn't announce it ahead of time. We only had one person in there. Did you see it for just a lousy cup of coffee? We might do that coming up sometime soon, maybe Friday morning. Prepare yourself for an early, and I'll announce it the night before, tomorrow night, that we're going to do one. It's for members only. So, and there's other extras for the $15. You get a newsletter, you get all of that stuff is coming out now. I haven't gotten the first newsletter out yet. You know why? COVID in the household, and then this big move to Louisiana. So it's coming, guys. Fret not. Don't let your hearts be in any state of fear over that. It's coming. So, and I thank you all that are already members. Bernard says, I just watch you guys, and Wayne Steiger only show that reaches Australia. The group that loves you, I'm fighting for the U.S., Australian, Chinese friends, Russian friends. Got to hear it all. Propaganda. I agree with you there, Bernard. There's a hell of a lot of propaganda out there. I don't wake up at 6 a.m. on Saturdays, says Doug Stack. We won't do it at 6 a.m. on Saturdays. The only reason we do it on 6 a.m. at 6 a.m. at all is because it's during the week before people have to go to work. That's why we do that. You can catch us for a half an hour in the morning for a lousy cup of coffee. So there you go, folks. That's tonight's show. I got here 40 minutes ago, says Michelle. She just hangs in the wings sometimes. Cool. I'm glad you're here, Michelle. We ran over again tonight by a half an hour, 26 minutes as of right now. But I don't care. It's because of my narcissistic and Machiavellian tendencies. You're all giving me your time for an extra half an hour, and I manipulated you into doing it by making the show go long. Is that narcissistic or Machiavellian? I don't know. But there's the basic test. You know what? There's another test. We're not taking it tonight, but there's the Big 5 personality test that we're going to do that. And that's where we had that disagree, somewhat disagree, neutral, somewhat agree, and agree. Those 5 things. For all these questions like, I'm the life of the party. I feel little concern for others. I'm always prepared. I get stressed out easily. I have a rich vocabulary. I don't talk a lot. Oh, strongly disagree. I insult people. I pay attention to details. I have little to say. I have a soft heart. I often forget to put things back in their proper place. I get upset easily. I don't have a good imagination. All of these things are in that test. And we're going to take that test tomorrow. Oh, you completed the personality test. Just a few optional questions before. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So we'll take a look at that tomorrow because I think it's fun to find out a little bit about ourselves, for ourselves, and the sake of ourselves. And it's a way to be, I think, to be better people. So there you go. There it is, folks. I want to thank you for joining me tonight. We ran over time by a half an hour, but we don't have the constraints of being on Odyssey tonight. So if we do this again and we run over, when we're back on Odyssey and I'm all set up and I can start broadcasting at Odyssey again, we'll do the hour show over there. And then I'll announce if we're going to extend it over here in the chat room, going live. So I'll let you know that when we are once again in the standing to do that again. Oh, Rainey Roberts replied to a comment on my photo. I'm going to have to see what that one is. So I don't know what photo she's talking about. So there we go, folks. That's my wife, by the way, for those of you who don't know, my lovely, amazing, talented, energetic, sexy wife. There you go. So, all right, peace out, kids, says Beth Kirkham. I can talk well. Love to all and stay warm and safe. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you, Beth Kirkham, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Doug Stack. Encore, encore, encore. Michelle Cannon-Free, love you. Everybody else, love you too in different ways. And Steve Clark, take care, stay safe and healthy wherever all my sisters and brothers may be tonight. Sending much love, he says, and peace of mind and heart and healing to all of you worldwide. Praying for you all. Hey, I got to tell you, before you all go, Rainey had this weird dream a few days ago. And she told me about it. And she didn't want to tell me about it in front of the kids because she thought it might be weird. And so I thought, oh, I wonder what she dreamt. I was going to tell you guys all about this earlier in the week. And I think she's okay with me telling this because it was a simple dream. She said she was in like a sitting position and she started rising up from that in that sitting position into the air. And she kind of looked up and she didn't see like a UFO ship or anything like that, like she's being taken by aliens. She felt she was being taken by someone, being lifted into the air in that sitting position. And she heard a voice above her say, they were kind of assuring her to not be afraid, but they said, "We're just going to heal you." And then she woke up. What kind of dream was that? Weird mind tricks? The theater of the mind in our sleep? The awake part of the mind that sees things that maybe we don't understand exist? Was it something more? Give me your opinions about that. So I thought that was a wild dream. Aliens, says Field Guy. Nope, says Gerald Krenek. What do you think, Gerald? What do you think that might have been? What comes to your mind? Just tricks of the mind or something much more intense than that? You can all tell me about it tomorrow night if you're back here. Tell me what you think of that. Maybe we'll discuss that a little bit. Something scratched my knee last night while I slept. I left a mark on me. What do you think it was? Did you do it yourself? You know what I do sometimes? You see me, I got a little scratch up here. I got a really bad habit of in my sleep, I'll scratch like this or something, and I leave a little nick in my forehead. Yeah, it's intense, Gerald. I think you're right. Um, as you know, and I've told this story a few times, and you know what I'm talking about. So like that time where Rainey and I, it was back when we were not married yet, kind of living together in sin and Christ Jesus, and we were covered up in bed at night by that big heavy comforter I have. There's a like suede, soft kit glove suede on one side and thick pile lining like sheepskin on the other for a California king size bed. It's massive. I still have it. It's up there on my bed. As a matter of fact, my bed's right there in this place. And so in the middle of the night, all of a sudden, it was as if somebody was standing at the foot of the bed and said, "And now for my next magic trick." Took this heavy comforter, just pulled it right off of us. And I remember feeling it go off of me. And I sat up and I grabbed it down by my ankles and pulled it back up over us. And I looked at the clock and it was 4:44 a.m. What was that? And in the morning, we tried every conceivable way we could to see if that blanket could slide off the bed by itself, by its own weight. And it had to be about 95% off the bed before it would take the last few inches and drag it to the floor. So interesting. All that stuff happens all the time. It's weird stuff. So maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow night a little bit. So see you back here. We're going to take a 22 and a half hour break and we'll be right back. So you sit tight. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Central or Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Left Coast Time. Glad to have you here. You know what? Live long and prosper. Good night, folks.